Hi, everyone. This is Rico Figliolini, host of this brand new podcast, Urban Ebb. It deals with covering the area that Southwest Gwinnett Magazine covers, and that's Norcross, Burke Lake, Duluth, and Peachtree Corners. And my first guest, my special guest here, is William Corbin. William Corbin is the the economic development director of the city of Norcross. There's a lot of things that we're going to try to cover in this episode. So William's been good enough to be able to make himself available to my series of questions. And this is a conversation we're going to have about all sorts of topics. So, but the first things first, I don't know how many people know what an economic development director does, and also a little bit about William. So William, tell us a little bit about yourself, and thanks for being on the show.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Don't ask me too hard questions, but I'll try to answer anything the best of my ability.
Sure.
Again, my name's William Corbin, Economic Development Director here at the City of Norcross. And I am actually originally from up north. I'm from Connecticut, around where you're from, I believe, New York.
Yeah.
And it was too cold for me, so I came down here, went to Emory University undergrad a while back. I won't date myself. And I'm older than I look, but went to Andrew Young School of Policy at Georgia State for my Master of Public Administration. And I enjoy helping to, affect the daily lives of residents and citizens, and that's what we do in the policy world, I call it. And in economic development, is about jobs, right? It's about jobs and growth, hence the name economic development. There's a lot of different things. It's a very holistic field nowadays, but it did start off with recruitment of companies for jobs. But right. As it pertains to Norcross, what we do here and what we're doing in the Economic Development Department is three main things, okay? Number one, we're communicating and we're engaging with the business community. Number two, we are helping to facilitate and responsibly direct investment to commercial and residential development. And number three, we do, programmatic things, programmatic items, things like, for example, when COVID happened, we used some of our American Rescue Plan Act funds to support a nonprofit grant program, as well as a small business grant program. So that's something that, programmatic that we might do. So that's kind of.
Yeah, I noticed that we covered a bit of that when I saw that come out. It was kind of cool because in COVID, with all the funding that came through the federal government, and the fact that they let the cities bring it down to the local level to find who really needs it. Because, the feds can't, the federal government can't.
The United States federal government, no, they, did fun fact, it was the first time, I believe, that every municipality received funding from the federal government. I think in this case it was the Department of the Treasury. And so over, I forget how many, 36,000, I forget. There's a lot of municipalities in the United States, but everyone got direct payments from the federal government, which had never happened before. So, the pandemic was definitely something unique that at least unique in our lifetime. I know there's been pandemics before, but
but you're right. So living through that, we learned a lot. Businesses learned a lot. There were businesses that survived because of that COVID funding, and then maybe hopefully survived after that. And there were quite a few apparently, but there were also those that just they survived, but then a year later maybe they were gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's not sustainable. I remember one of the businesses was a restaurant, fairly big restaurant, and their nut was $50,000 a month between rent and tax and everything.
Yeah, wow.
Yep. So I think they got maybe 50,000 grant, and that was it. So that lasted a month. I mean,
wow, yeah.
Difficult thing. And I'm glad that you gave an introduction to what your job is, because it's a big difference for a lot of communities to have. A lot of cities don't have an effective person in that job. Let's say a lot of smaller towns.
Yeah.
It can make a difference. So we're going to discuss in our time together a bit about the different things that you touch upon, some of the different things that affect the city. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about was affordable housing, the
Sure.
opportunities that are out there, and what the challenges that Norcross faces in doing this. So tell us a bit about where the city is on that and what you're trying to do.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great question. Affordable housing, as we know, it's become a more significant issue, and especially in the last three to 5 years, let's say. And it's been a crisis for most communities. Pretty much every community in the nation is trying to grapple with how to address the housing shortage and the housing. Disparity is not the right word, but there's not enough variety of price points and housing types. And so in the city of Norcross, we're faced with this same issue. And the mayor and council, they've been very supportive of trying to tackle that issue. For example, we actually are part of a program called the Georgia Initiative for Community Housing. And it's called GIC for short, GICH. And it's a public-private partnership. It's a partnership, I would say, between University of Georgia administers the program along with the Department of Community Affairs, the State of Georgia Department of Community Affairs. And so it's a 3-year program where cities and communities apply to who are interested in really tackling these issues, and you learn best practices, you learn about what other cities are doing to address the issue in a variety of different ways. And the benefit of that also, in addition to all the knowledge gained, there's a whole team, of community members and staff kind of involved. You also get a 1 point towards the application from developers who are doing they're trying to, let me back up. Low-income housing tax credits are run through the Department of Community Affairs.
Okay.
And so it's a competitive process for developers to obtain funding that cheaper funding for it. So as an incentive for communities to get better at affordable housing, if you're part of this program, you're able to give a letter of support and points towards that competitive process if a developer is doing something in your community that year. So we were fortunate enough to actually win 2 low-income housing tax credit affordable housing projects in the city of Norcross. The first one is the Norcross Housing Authority with Walton Communities. They are redeveloping their 40-odd unit property down off Mitchell Road. And they're redeveloping it into about 180 units, I believe. 90 units in phase 1 and 90 units in phase 2. And so that's going to really help densify, that area in terms of helping to add housing that's affordable to the city. And that's the Norcross Housing Authority, which is federally funded. Okay. There's another project. The second one is it's from Blue Ridge Atlantic Development. That's a developer. I believe they're out west, but anyway, they also won tax credits to do a 70-unit development right behind the retail office fronts or retail fronts on Beaver Ruin and Beaufort Highway. So right behind there's going to be 70 units going up to the Caliber collision between there, and 70 units, and it's going to be a senior veteran project. So that's very cool. We're excited about that.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. So 180 units for the housing authority. We've got 70 units for senior and veterans, and also Alliance Residential Company, who has done a lot of work in this area. You may be familiar with the Broadstone development. Broadstone Junction in Norcross was a former West Rock plant, 10 acres, 300, almost 400 units. And they're also doing Alliance Broadstone Peachtree Corners, right on Peachtree Parkway, right there before the forum. So they're active in the area, and they are, we're happy to announce, or not announce, but there's dirt moving right now, right behind the CVS on Beaufort Highway. And there's multiple stories going up for 280 units. It's going to be called Pros Norcross. Now, Pros is their workforce housing product. They're meaning Alliance Residential Company. So, and that's intended to be 20% lower in terms of asking rates for rental rates. than the surrounding areas. So they're trying to address and help the affordable housing, by their building processes. So that's a different.
So how do you, so for example, affordable housing is an interesting thing, right? Because affordable is one person's affordable and another person's
Yeah,
not,
yeah,
right?
sure, yeah.
And I can appreciate what you said before, because like, for example, in the city of Peachtree Corners, it seems like almost every housing thing that goes up, townhouse, attached townhouse, stuff like that, is always north of 600,000.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and like, for example, and maybe Town Center is a bad example of this, but there's a lot of townhouses there, right? There's about 80 that were built there. I think they went north of 750,000. They rent for easy $3,400 a month, if not more.
Wow.
Certainly not affordable to most working people.
No, not at all.
And not for anything, it's not affordable to a middle class person either, or
Right.
even a slightly up middle class.
I don't want to pay that.
Yes, I mean, you have to. I think household income has to be north of 200,000,
Yeah.
possibly, to pay that money. So how do you keep? So where are the price points for the affordable housing, and how do you on those? Those are owner occupied.
These are the ones I mentioned. Those are all multifamily. Those will be rentals.
So they're all rentals. None of
They're
them
all
condos
rental.
or
Yes.
equity.
Yes.
Okay.
No condos. We found that, a lot of, we want to continue to have different varieties. So you want to have some rental units. You want to have for sale. It's very difficult right now to do for sale also. And I know you mentioned this before about there's challenges with affordable housing. The land costs are just so high that in order to get a return, it's hard to pencil that financially, in terms of the revenue for the developer. So you need subsidies, or at least in our way of doing things.
Right. Right. You would need subsidies, or you would need to, from my experience and from what I've seen in other places, you would need to say, okay, you're a developer, you want some density. That's fine. You're going to put 200 units there, but it would also be great if you did 20 units that are affordable, equity-owned units.
Right. Yeah.
That fall below a certain price range, and maybe provide that land to not you build it, because maybe your costs a little higher, but maybe a Habitat for Humanities or a different similar organization to come in to say, okay, we're going to provide 20% or 20% of this housing is going to be this. I could see the rental thing, because you're right. I mean, your property is expensive depending where that property is, actually, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, all over the place here. And the thing with Norcross, we're close to the city. We're already built out. It's not like we have just raw land and acreage out in the country that's going to go for lower. So the prices are higher. But to your point, there is, there are things that municipalities can do. That what you refer to is called inclusionary zoning. And the city of Atlanta has been very aggressive, especially around the Beltline area, in trying to make those kind of overlay zoning districts where you require a developer for more density to, in exchange for more density, for example, to do, affordable housing units at whatever percentage, they work out. So we've actually been kicking that around a bit, and staff has been doing some due diligence and legwork. Nothing to announce, but that's something that we've discussed. It's one of the options. Another one is, of course, buying land and then selling it at a discounted rate.
That's subsidizing.
The city does own a 10.5 acre piece of property off Mitchell Road, right south of the Texaco gas station. On the right side, past the power line easement. It's 10 acres. You can't really see it. There's a gate there. It's wooded. But we are looking to dispose of that property for the redevelopment of affordable housing in some way. So we're the Norcross Development Authority, which is a citywide development authority. They have control of the property, and so they're exploring their options with various outfits.
And to get back to the rental part, the affordable rental, what's the mechanism? How do you work that, price range? I know you said 20% less than the market.
Well, that's Alliance. That's Alliance Residential's PRO's product. Their Broadstone project is the market rate. But how? Was that?
I was
So
going to say, how do you monitor that, and how do you where is that price range?
well, typically, yeah, what happens is usually when you're doing an affordable housing development, or where you see that there's sustained affordability, you have an organization that is contracted by the developer or by the apartment, company to vet the applications coming in, and also if it's owner occupied, for
Right.
example, you can do the same thing with deed restrictions, et cetera. There's some complicated things, but there's ways that you can extend the affordability and so that the people that own it can get some more equity out of it. There's a percentage. There's all kinds of formulas of this, but basically, an organization like Gwinnett Housing Corporation, they are a private developer, but they develop affordable housing, and so they will partner with builders to buy property and build, and that's usually for sale. So they've been looking around in the Norcross area, and actually, funny enough, they're doing a project now, and this is how the Norcross Development Authority was kind of resurrected. We were statutorily we had it, but we didn't have a full board. We didn't have a board at all. So there was a Gwinnett Housing Corporation. Actually, funny enough, they were looking to do a project next to the Norcross High School. Okay, whereby they would have a townhome community that looks like anything else, but it would service students and families who are in need or may have been in extended stays, which we do have a good amount of, and there are families that are in there, and so spending a lot of money, when they really don't have to, just because of the market and how that works there. So that was a project that they were looking to do. However, they needed someone to help facilitate the transfer of land. Now, cities legally can't buy and dispose and buy and sell land. You have to do it through a development authority by state law. We only had a downtown development authority that was active, and that was only, of course, in the downtown area. So when I first came to the city of Norcross, which was in November of 2019, I believe it is, that was one of the things that I heard. Hey, they wanted to do that. I said, you know what? I wonder if we could do a citywide authority, development authority. Usually, development authorities, not DDAs, but development authorities, are counties. That's how they started, county-based. So you see a lot of counties have development authorities. Development authority of Clayton County, et cetera, et cetera. So we were able to do that. We looked through with our attorneys, and we figured out, hey, there are some cities that have, city of Decatur, they have a citywide development authority, for example. And so we implemented ours. It just so happens that the development authority wasn't needed for that project. That project is moving along, thankfully, without the development authority. But now we have a citywide development authority to help all areas of the city and not just the downtown area. And our citywide development authority, which is called the Norcross Development Authority, NDA, not non-disclosure agreement, but they are focused on housing. That's one of their initiatives. They can do anything that they have similar powers to the DDA, but their focus is more, housing efforts, and that's why they have control of that property on Mitchell Road that I referred to earlier.
So even broader authority, if you will, than because there are also like redevelopment authorities where they redevelop old property or buildings.
Right.
But your NDA actually has broader powers, I guess, and a broader mission, if you will.
I think so. Yeah. And there's a lot of flexibility in that, so it does. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool. Housing's a big thing to every city, and certainly Norcross, Peachtree Corners, none of these are different, unless of course you like Berkeley Lake, maybe, which is already developed, and that.
I love Berkeley Lake. I love it. I love our neighbors. We're, we all have different, positive things and different unique things about us that makes the Southwest Gwinnett area great.
And going back to what you said about developable land that can be developed, I mean, Peachtree Corners is like that to a degree, right? We're not, like you said, a rural place anymore.
Yes,
we're an urban environment,
right? And that comes with challenges.
Yeah, more urbanization, more of every other thing that comes with being an urban environment. Redeveloping, like maybe office buildings that aren't going to be used anymore because
which is a thing now.
Yeah, it's a hybrid world, and
Yes.
I honestly don't think that part's going to go away. It's going to adjust, I think, but
No, it's not. But let me tell you something about that though.
Yeah.
So we we have a couple of those buildings. Usually that challenge we haven't had that challenge of vacancy with our medium and lower priced office buildings. There's a lot of people doing entrepreneurship. There's a lot of smaller companies that are growing, and places like Viridian Business Plaza over off of Jimmy Carter, going up to the racetrack. That's entry level space. No, it's not the Class A shinier space, but it serves a great purpose in terms of helping companies grow. And as well as a lot of folks that are in this industry, that 70% of job growth comes from small businesses. So, and I kind of went off tangent a little bit, but I was trying to talk about the office, the bigger office buildings. Those are the ones that have those vacancy issues now with the new realities. And so, we've got one right on the corner of Holcomb Bridge and Peachtree Industrial Boulevard, 4-story building, 73,000 square feet. We were kind of contemplating, how do we help redevelop that? Because it's been empty for some time, or only one floor has been used. And so, that building, I hear, may be occupied by a new user that will actually utilize most of the building. And it's I can't say who, but I believe it's an engineering type of firm. So hopefully, we'll hear good news on that in the next couple of weeks. But that we were looking to redevelop that property, or brainstorming ideas of how to redevelop that into something maybe with a commercial tilt to it, because Crown Plaza is right behind it.
Using the same building versus gutting it out or tearing it down.
Maybe we explored that too. I got some retail consultants that I like to kind of bat some ideas around, and that's not as easy as it's not as easy as everyone might have originally thought. You heard a couple years ago, let's just convert. But there's a lot of issues with engineering and plumbing and et cetera. So oftentimes, unless it's been vacant for a while and it's maybe blighted, the property's too valuable, or it's too difficult to put more money into it in addition to the land costs to redevelop it. So in that case, if that were to redevelop, it would probably be a takedown, and I could probably see a mix of, a smaller office, maybe a smaller, 15,000 square feet of office space with co-located restaurant space, or because, right across the street, you've got retail, TJ Maxx, Publix. I'm in marketing mode now, but that's, it's exciting. That kind of thing would have been really cool. But it's also cool that it remained a job generator, and it's, hopefully still going to be filled with 100, 200 folks hopefully coming in to work there. So that's
the best part, when you get someone else coming in, private business doing it, right? Because even just pulling it together, I know the Forum, when North American Properties bought that in Peachtree Corners, the whole idea of adding density there, of doing apartments and then a hotel and adjusting the retail space takes time. That can be, people look at that and say, it'll be done, wow, we're going to have that. Takes a little time.
Takes a little bit.
Like 2 or 3 years, maybe.
Gotta go in phases and make sure that they do their research right. And but I like what they're doing over there. It's good. It's good for the entire area.
For sure.
Everyone's like, oh, are you guys competing with Peachtree Corners? Yes and no. Because a lot of the companies that are over there, I talk to them. They come here for lunch. They go to Peachtree Corners Town Center for lunch. So it's good. Growth in Peachtree Corners, growth in Duluth, growth in Berkeley Lake is great for us.
It helps everyone within that ecosphere, because everyone has something a little different too. Your downtown area is a lot different than our downtown area that we're growing. That's a good part about North American Properties, looking at holistic, like you mentioned before.
Right.
That it's not just a retail play, right? So housing is one big thing, but you can have housing, but without transportation, in a way, you can't. It's kind of hard to get around, right? I know Greenish. I come from the north, like you do, right? I come from New York, from Brooklyn. Subways were a big thing until they weren't.
Yeah.
because I'm 65 next year. So I lived through Koch, Ed Koch. I lived through Giuliani, who took over as mayor at one point.
Yep.
When he took over, the subway system was atrocious. It was horrible. You didn't want to go on it.
I remember. I'm an 1983. So my youth, I remember going to visit family, and it was it was different in the early 90s, early 80s.
Oh my God, dude! I used to take the train up on the IRT up the east side of Brooklyn through I forget what that area was called, and it was all abandoned buildings, and you were just fearful for your life to some degree because depending on what time you came home, wasn't the best place to be on, right? So there are a lot of people that moved here into Gwinnett County, obviously. But even with that, I think they picked this area because of the way it is. And I know Gwinnett, there are some people that would like to bring Martyr into Gwinnett County. I have young kids, well, yeah, they're in their 20s. They keep saying to me, why spend $1 billion or $2 billion to bring 4 miles of Martyr into, into Gwinnett County? Makes no sense to me. Rapid systems, buses, light rail, maybe. I don't think we need to be doing like heavy billion-dollar pieces of work. But so there are challenges. So how does Norcross see these types of challenges? I know you all might be into like the bus rapid transit or what is that? I forget the new initiative.
Light rail or
Gwinnett's trying to push something else, I think, at this point. But
you're right. Yeah, I think I thought it was bus rapid transit.
That was it.
And which is not their dedicated rights of way, but it's not the heavy rail that you're talking about before. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I think we do know that there's going to probably be another penny tax or something like that, some kind of initiative or vote asked of the county. And whether it be for heavy rail or not, I think that's the question, right? But the bottom line is we need more connectivity in that sense, and different types of connectivity in order to help. If you've driven around here, if you've driven around on Jimmy Carter from Holcomb Ridge all the way down to 85, it can be challenging. And that actually is one area that's identified as would be a corridor for a bus rapid transit route. We've been working with the county. They've been doing a lot of focus groups. They've been doing a lot of input gathering about what the possibilities could be. And I think they're preparing for to eventually put something forward that they think they can build consensus with. But traffic's an issue. It's only getting worse. And
there was a modified plan or a plan I saw somewhere that showed where the transit hubs would be, because you have to have hubs, right?
Yes.
My only thing with that, and I don't know how you think about it, so I'm going to ask you, but I don't mind, you need these hubs, right? So that's practical, that makes sense. But they tend to be the ones I've seen don't tend to be good looking. They're not great for the community that's around it, unless they're done a certain way. And I've seen other cities, you could Google this stuff and it's great because you could see urban planning from other major cities, from other parts of the world even, where they have the same thing, because you're going to need a hub, but they build either residential around it, office, retail. So then it's not a little bit more advanced, more clean, because it's not using diesel engines, it's using sustainable energy. And so you're not getting the dirt, the soot from a diesel engine and all that. It's cleaner than it used to be. But you're not getting oil stains, you're not getting all that. And if you can create a hub that's more that has retail, some housing and office, that makes more sense to me now.
I agree.
Where do you do good? How do you see Norcross doing that though?
Here's the key with that. I mean, what you're talking about is what we call transit-oriented development, TODs, and they've been doing that a lot. MARTA, they started that off several years ago. They're out to Avondale Estate Station now, and basically, it's exactly what you said. It's developing mixed use around the transit line or the transit hub, and so that's actually what's not really spoken with. Yes, we want connectivity, but also it's a redevelopment tool that will help address or can help address affordable housing, because you can have those more dense stations double as housing, as entertainment, as retail, as well, and so I think that's where I think, you got it right with it. You got to make it nicer. But there's opportunities in there for, to add different forms of, economic development, different forms, like entertainment, like restaurants, affordable housing, most importantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking holistically towards it.
Mm-hmm. So it's a triple-edged sword, a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's not easy, and it takes time, and there's all sorts of red tape and approvals and all sorts of things. And then, of course, politically speaking, to get it, to get people to agree to this type of stuff. Because still, I can still see a no vote coming at some point.
Maybe. But I think they're going to find a happy medium. I'm hoping. I think so. But I think it's all in the way it's marketed too. You've got to educate the public. And it's the timing too. When is the vote? Is it going to be in a general election? Is it going to be in an off election year? Is it going to be in March?
Well, hopefully they don't pull a political thing where they do it in an off. I think they tried to do it in an off-year election because they thought it might pass better, and it still failed.
Allegedly, I don't know if that was the case, but
this is true. Yeah. This is me, my political campaign from New York. This is the way they would have done it. This is the way they would have done it in Brooklyn, probably. I'm a little jaded with some stuff.
Understandable.
Some people always tell. There was one guy that I knew that always said, "Just follow the money, because everything's really about the money, no matter how you look at it." Let's move on to businesses and how cities. We hit some of it, but what initiatives has the city of Norcross implemented to attract like small new businesses and also to keep businesses in Norcross, because people, companies move and stuff. So what initiatives does the city have?
So, we like to see ourselves in economic development as connectors, connecting companies, connecting small businesses to access to capital, for example, connecting them to technical assistance. We've got organizations like Access to Capital for Entrepreneurs, or ACE, which we house in one of our city property buildings, at a discounted rate. So they're right here. We also, we have the UGA SBDC, or Small Business Development Center, right over in Lawrenceville. That's, of course, funded by the SBA. That's another resource. And we try to, really, like I mentioned before at the beginning, we engage and communicate with the business community, and we go out and we actually, prior to my time here, we had another position that was contract, but I wanted to really focus on what we call our business recruitment and expansion efforts. It's about existing industry, because again, I mentioned, small businesses do account for a lot of job growth. And oftentimes when you're visiting these companies, A, they're appreciative, and B, you find things out that you may not know otherwise, about the industry, about what's going on with the workforce, any kind of problems that they're having or challenges. And things like expansion needs. So we found through that, and through touching our businesses, that's a very positive outcome for that. We also work with our friends at Partnership Gwinnett, and that is more for the recruitment of outside companies, into the city, into the Norcross area. They work very closely with the State Department of Economic Development and their city partners to kind of help recruit and direct companies. We have other things like incentives, such as Freeport inventory tax exemption, whereby companies in warehousing, distribution, e-commerce, they get, I think it's up to all of their taxes in terms of inventory tax, written off. So there's a lot of reasons why you would want to locate in Norcross. We are a logistics and distribution hub. There's several parks, and so by the way, speaking of industries, we are in the middle of doing a target industry study update. After the pandemic, things have changed a lot. And, we use that, that'll be done hopefully sometime in the spring to kind of redefine how we go out. What companies do we want to attract? What is our workforce like? What's our education levels like? What's our labor force? And then match with what's growing. And so we're going to refine those soon. And that's going to help with also helping to recruit and attract companies in addition to growing them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, you want to be able to not only, it's hard to keep a handle on things in a big city, and Norcross is relatively, big city. So to know exactly what type of businesses have been coming in the last 3, 4, 5 years, and what type of companies support those businesses.
It's important to know that. Yeah.
Because you can expand on that then. I mean, and the fact that you can provide those credits or those initiatives to attract businesses makes sense.
Yeah. And speaking of credits, tax credits, I didn't mention that actually. We have job tax credits as part of lesser developed census tract, which we have a couple of those. We are able to give, I think it's $3,500 per job for a full-time job for your corporate tax liability. And that can be extended 5, 10 years. And so companies do take advantage of that. And that is a incentive that we use in addition to, the other one that I mentioned.
I would imagine if someone comes in with 200 employees, that's a lot of money.
Yes, exactly. You're gonna want to take advantage of that, and we're happy to offer that.
Cool. Let's talk a little bit about, I mean, we talk. There's so much talk about clean energy, about EV cars, charging stations. We just set a bunch of charging stations in Peachtree Corners, new ones, along Peachtree Corners Circle.
Okay, yeah, I think I saw those being put in other week.
Yeah, so that's across from Town Center, actually.
Okay.
Along with the EV charging stations at the parking deck in Town Center, they're making that more of a requirement with some developments to provide a certain amount percentage of EV charging stations, fast charging stations, I believe. So what does the city do as far as friendly business practices, green initiatives? I know you all, a lot of sustainable stuff, LEED City. I mean, just those are great things. What do you do there? And how do you also try to put that into development work when people come to the city and say, we want to do 280 apartments? How do you use any of that initiative in those developments to say, listen, we'll give you the density, but you have to be LEED certified, the building, or you have to provide a certain amount of sustainable parking, or do you do any of that, or what does the city do?
Yeah, we do some of that. And before I mentioned that, we consider ourselves a green city. We have green building practices, energy efficiency, water use. We have a trees and green space, committee. So we're doing a lot. I think we are a tree city and a bee city. So sustainability is something that we're proud of, and we're building off of that to continue, because we know, and here's the catch: Generation Z, they really care about that, and our young professionals coming in, they care about that a lot more than maybe we had in the past, or maybe they're intentional about putting that into practice in terms of choosing where to live, where do you work, etc. And we acknowledge that, and we try to be on the cutting edge of those types of things. Now, fast forward to, okay, how do you do that? We do have some incentives, especially in certain areas of the city where you can, whereby you can, if you use, bicycle racks and things of that nature. If you use, I think it's 5 elements of green building, you get a density bonus. In terms of if you're doing a project. For example, that project on Buford Highway is part of that zoning area that offers that incentive. So there are incentives that we try to encourage, all of our developments to be as sustainable as possible. We understand that it's not as cheap to just, it costs more, but big picture, a lot of times you get that money back. So if you're a developer, you understand that, but oftentimes it's easiest to go to kind of the whatever's the lowest hanging fruit or just to get the job done. But I think there are developers out there and investors that understand the big picture and the return and the efficiency gains that they can have. You know,
Interesting.
I think.
There definitely are developers like that, but I agree with you. There are those that look at that low hanging fruit because eventually they're going to sell that property after they build it. Almost none of these developers keep it. They end up flipping it to a REIT or a different investment company. But the city has to look at it long term, right?
Yeah.
Because
You
want to make sure that it's going to survive and needs to be doing what it's doing and stuff.
So
I can see that. Are there other other ways, other success stories about local business opportunities? Local businesses, homemakers, not homemakers, homemakers,
homegrown businesses or what?
homegrown businesses, right?
Yeah.
Makers, are there initiatives?
Yeah.
Besides, you guys have like the Norcross Art Gallery. I know there's lots of artists in there.
Yeah. We are we got a good art scene. We've got like nice. I think we've got a nice local. What I call quality of life businesses. A nice. In downtown. We also have companies like, for example, Refuge Coffee just opened up not too long ago. And their mission-based organization that they do hire refugees and individuals of that nature, and originally based in Clarkston. And so we're excited for them to come here and open up. We've also got companies like Green Boom, which was out of and they are how do I describe this? They basically are a biodegradable. They make materials like oil booms to clean up disasters and spills, but it's oil only absorbent. So all the water doesn't absorb any water, and also it's biodegradable. So there's 100% sustainability there. So really cool concept. They're going to be growing very, very fast, and they're going to be expanding. So again, that's a company that started out of Georgia Tech, and they are
based out of Norcross.
Yeah, and it's a green company, very cool company called Green Boom. And we also have a.
I was going to say, for the listeners, I'll have those links in the show notes.
Okay. Yeah. And Clean Spark is another company. They're a Bitcoin mining company off of Brook Hollow Parkway. I don't know if you over by the old Sprint data center, right off.
That's so funny. I own some shares of stock in that company.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, hey, we're happy to help out.
Kind of funny.
Yeah, they do Bitcoin, but they also invest in low carbon energy, wind, solar, nuclear, hydro. They're very, very unique kind of company. Bitcoin mining is one thing that they do. So, and they use a lot of power, which is good because we are a power providing city. We're a utility city. We have a Norcross Power. We have a utility company, kind of like Lawrenceville. They have a gas.
I didn't know that. So you have Norcross Power.
Norcross Power, and if you look at the old map, well, not the old map, it's the map, but basically our territory is what used to be, just Norcross. It's a big circle kind of between the Beaver Ruin area and Jimmy Carter going down a little bit. But unfortunately, Georgia Power and Jackson EMC, they have all the best kind of corners on highways and things of that nature. So we're more in the downtown core area. So of course, that's an economic development generator. When we have redevelopment in our power service area, that's really, that's a double for, a double positive for us. So, but yeah, power is a way that, like you said, EV, that's an economic development generator, they say. I'm not so sure about how much it is anymore. I think that Peachtree Corners, in terms of using EVs for development of your economy, like, people stay there and then they charge up and then they go and shop in your community. I'm not too sure. It sounds like a great idea, but from my, I guess, unscientific viewpoint, I see people sitting in their cars on their phones, so maybe it's not as much of a generator, as we thought.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
you may be right that way,
but it's a cool factor. It is a cool factor, and so there's things that are good about having that. You know, I think that's
there's still more people buying EV cars, and they have to charge it somewhere. Now, granted, most people go home and charge it, let's say.
Mhm.
But if you're traveling to a city or you work in that city, certainly want to be able to charge it while you're at work, maybe.
Yeah.
Problem with those things has always been, I think, where you plug it in and you're, you're charged up, but your car's still parked there. No one else can go park it.
Yeah, they're gonna have to figure that out. I've heard that all the new like QTs, racetracks, gas stations, they are putting the new build ones, they are putting the infrastructure in so that so they'll be ready to switch it on, and then you're gonna have a whole bunch of gas stations. It's not a gas, what's it gonna be called? We don't know what it's gonna be called. Right?
I don't know, but
but it's gonna be hybrid for some time until it completely goes away. But
it better be really fast chargers.
Yeah, I think they've got they know what they're doing. I think they're ahead of the game. The car manufacturers, they're jumping on board. Matter of fact, our educational systems, Gwinnett Technical College, they just have a huge new building or buildings that are dedicated to automotive partnerships, where they'll train students in EV, in the traditional automobiles as well. So there's a whole industry that's burgeoning, where you can use transferable skills if you've already been a mechanic. And in fact, what is it called? Napa, Genuine Auto Parts Company. I guess that's the real name.
They have a place.
Napa, which we have
They have a place on Peachtree Industrial
Boulevard? Yeah, Peachtree Industrial Boulevard. They have a distribution center, actually, a regional distribution center, and there's office space there too. We visited them. Our business development manager visited them, and wouldn't you believe it? They are already starting to tag, and they're trying to understand the different parts that are going to come down the pike once people, use and need that more. So everyone's preparing for this shift to EVs. I'm not ready yet in my household. I want to be able to just get off the exit and not think about having to look for a charge. But as technology gets better, I think more people will adopt. Maybe my next car. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I would keep a gas car just in case.
Smart guy. Yeah, I like that.
You never know. So we've covered a lot, William. Quite a bit. This has been a great discussion, I think, going back and forth a bit about where the city's at, the incentives you all are doing, making the place a great place for businesses to go to relocate to, or to be growing in.
Yes.
It's cool to learn a little bit more about that. Hope to have you on again.
Thank you.
Talking about other things.
I appreciate it.
I'm glad I had you leading off the first episode of Urban Ebb.
Good. And I didn't even talk about all the quality of life that's going on, with the restaurants and the new shops. So keep an eye out on our downtown, and keep an eye out on some other areas, that may be ripe for redevelopment. So maybe we'll talk some more about that next time, once things kind of get going more after these interest rates settle down. So
I think we can make this almost like a quarterly episode that we talk and find out a bit more about Norcross. So I want to thank you, William. Thanks for being with me, William Corbin, from the city of Norcross. Kind of cool, all the stuff going on there. Thank you guys for listening to us. Obviously, depending on where you're listening, you should like our Facebook page, Southwest Gwinnett Magazine, and Peachtree Corners Magazine. Look us up on YouTube. We're actually under Peachtree Corners Magazine, but there's playlists, and this is part of that playlist that will be there. Subscribe to us, get notifications when these go on a live simulcast stream. At some point, we'll be doing other types of things as well, Q&A, chat rooms where we may be able to take live questions and stuff. So, stay subscribed. If you're listening to this on podcasts like Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or Audible or anything like that, like us, leave a review. We'll be found better on those things. So thank you again. Appreciate you all being with us. Thank you, William.
Thank you.